Gundam SEED came out about 20 years ago, so it's a pretty safe bet you don't remember everything. And especially with the release of Gundam SEED Freedom, you might want to freshen up a little bit. But you might not have 20 hours to do it. So let's see if we can't condense it down to the length of about one episode. And let me know if you want to see me do the same thing for Destiny. If we hit about 300 likes, then I'll get to work on doing that too. A war has broken out between coordinators, genetically modified and enhanced human beings living in the plant colonies in space, and naturals, people who have been unaltered and largely remain on Earth. The coordinator soldiers of ZAFT drastically outclass the Earth Alliance. The Alliance is forced to rely on more of a war of attrition approach, that and nuking innocent colonies like in the Bloody Valentine tragedy. In response to that, ZAFT creates neutron jammers to prevent nuclear weapons from ever being used again. The Earth Alliance secretly begins to cooperate with the neutral nation of Orb, developing 5 new mobile suits called Gundams on a neutral colony known as Heliopolis. Unfortunately for them, ZAFT discovers the machines and infiltrate the colony in order to steal them. Kira Yamato and his friends get caught in the crossfire. In the midst of the attack, a mysterious girl proclaims after seeing the Gundams,
"Father, I know you betrayed us all!"
Kira pushes her into one of the last escape pods before trying to flee with an Earth Alliance officer named Murrue. Rusty, one of the ace pilots of ZAFT, is shot, which unleashes a bloodthirst in Athrun Zala that humanity may never truly recover from. Athrun even almost ends up killing Kira before realizing that it's his long-lost friend from when they were children, with Athrun even giving him a robot bird he built as a parting gift, which he brilliantly names Birdie. Murrue and Kira escape in the Strike Gundam, when Kira is forced to reprogram the entire operating system in order to keep up. I like to think it's the same as going to your friend's house and playing their games and realizing they play on inverted controls with toggle aim at 50 FOV. Are you stupid? The fighting between ZAFT and the Alliance inevitably results in the destruction of the colony. Kira and his friends and other civilians escape with the Earth Alliance ship, the Archangel. Flaga, one of the only good pilots in the entirety of the Earth Alliance, capable of squaring off with even Creuset, confronts Kira on being a coordinator. He asserts to the crew that it's not an issue, and he tells him that he'll need his help to protect everyone. Murrue assumes command of the ship. Nataral, a by-the-books officer, assists her, and Mu knows his best place is in the cockpit, despite technically being the highest ranking. The Creuset team continues their chase. Athrun has second thoughts though, not wanting to have to end up killing Kira, so he routinely tries to get him to join them. Kira continues to fight for the safety of his friends, but he's clearly not doing so well. But you seem to be enjoying yourself if you're still watching, so consider subscribing to the channel and turning on notifications so that way you can get notified when I release videos like this. The Archangel takes refuge in a shielded Alliance outpost known as Artemis. Filled with shady Alliance officers, Flay near immediately outs Kira as a coordinator. Before they can use Kira to build more weapons for them, ZAFT catches up and sneaks under their shield to destroy it. The Archangel flees, and Artemis falls to ruin. Desperate for supplies, they are forced to scrounge what they can from the remains of Junius 7, the colony that was nuked in the Bloody Valentine tragedy. They stumble upon an escape pod with Lacus Clyne, an influential ZAFT pop star, inside, who ended up stranded while visiting the colony for a memorial. She's also Athrun's fiancée, due to an arranged political marriage. Athrun is notified that she's missing, and he's sent on a rescue operation, again for political reasons. He's supposed to come back a hero,
or come back and in a public display weep bitter tears over her still corpse.
Kira befriends Lacus, as they're both victims of Flay's space racist outbursts. The Archangel meets up with the advanced fleet, but it's not long before Athrun arrives, and he starts butchering every single last one of them. until Kira arrives and starts to distract him. Natarl makes the only call, declaring Lacus is on board and that she is now their hostage. Everyone returns to their ships. Flay confronts Kira on not doing enough to save the fleet, and her father, who was on board one of the primary ships. I used to kind of agree, but honestly, Kira distracting Athrun was probably the only reason they didn't all just die immediately. Kira decides that what they're doing is wrong, and refuses to use Lacus as a hostage. With the help of his friends, he escapes with her and gives her back to Athrun. Athrun begs Kira to join them one last time, but Kira refuses to abandon his friends, and the two of them agree that they won't hold back against each other anymore. The Archangel can't afford to punish its greatest asset for too long though, so Kira's sent right back out to the front lines. After the death of her father, Flay decides to manipulate and use Kira in order to kill every last one of the coordinators, by deceiving him and trying to get him to feel like he has to protect her. Flay and Kira are the exact opposite of Lacus and Athrun. Flay tries to get Kira to kill everyone, while Lacus tries to get Athrun to stop killing everyone. The Archangel joins up with Admiral Halberton's fleet. Kira and his friends and the civilians are given the chance to finally leave. Kira's friends stay and choose to serve, and he decides he can't leave them behind. Which is true because they'd definitely be dead without him. And then Flay seals the deal, ensuring that Kira will keep fighting for as long as she wants him to. Athrun and the rest of the team arrive, tearing through their entire fleet like it was made out of tinfoil. After seeing Athrun's insane kill count, Murrue decides, yeah, let's actually get the hell out of here. The Archangel flees, hoping that ZAFT will pursue them and spare the rest of the fleet. As they start entering the atmosphere, the hateful and spiteful Diarca and Izak, tired of losing to the strike, pursue, shooting down a ship full of civilians in the process, before all three nearly burn up in the atmosphere. Thrown off course and stranded alone in the desert of Africa, the only place on Earth controlled by ZAFT, aka the last place they wanted to land, they're attacked by the Desert Tiger, Andrew Waltfeld. They end up getting rescued by a group of revolutionaries led by the girl that Kira saved earlier, named Cagalli. After that, Waltfeld needs to lay down the law in his territory. He burns the rebels' village to the ground, but he's nice enough to give them a warning first, so every last one of them is safely evacuated. The rebels mount a counteroffensive that fails miserably. Kira saves them before smacking some sense into Cagalli and Sai, his friend and Flay's previous boyfriend. Thanks to Flay, Kira's inner Athrun is coming out. In need of supplies, the crew goes into town. Kira and Cagalli get swept up in an attack on Waltfeld's life, and they're brought back to his home as a thank you for helping him out. Waltfeld ultimately confronts Kira. He's figured out that he's the pilot of the strike. He asks one important question.
At what point do we put an end to it? When every single one of your enemies has been destroyed?
Before he decides to let them go. The Desert Tiger and the Archangel, alongside the rebels, have one final showdown. Cagalli and Mu take on battleships, while Izak and Diarca embarrass themselves with their teenage angst as they refuse to listen to Waltfeld's commands to stay on the ship because their mobile suits are clearly not built for this environment. Kira faces off against Waltfeld and his significant other, Aisha. When things start to look grim, she refuses to abandon him, and all three make one final desperate charge before Waltfeld and Aisha are ultimately killed. The Archangel continues its plans to head for the Earth Alliance headquarters in Alaska. Cagalli and Kisaka decide to tag along. The Archangel is forced to adapt to naval combat as they face attack after attack, but it won't be long before the Le Creuset team and Athrun are back. Or should I say the Zala team, rather. Athrun has been placed in command, as Le Creuset leaves to assist in the setup for a future ZAFT operation known as Operation Spitbreak. Needless to say though, not everyone is pleased with that decision. In the midst of another attack on the Archangel, Cagalli ends up getting too far away from the battlefield. She runs into Athrun's transport, and the two of them end up getting stranded on a deserted island. Athrun manhandles the hell out of her and is about 2 seconds away from skinning her alive, when he realizes she's a woman and decides to spare her. And they say chivalry's dead. Then they spend some quality time insulting each other and blaming the other for all of their problems. Meanwhile, Kira and Mu mobilize to try to find her, while Izak and Diarca laugh at their fearless leader getting lost before they even have the chance to deploy. But thankfully, the two have a heart-to-heart and start to understand each other, and why neither of them can stop fighting after everything that's happened. It really is a true love at first attempted murder type of situation. After everyone is rescued, we're right back to the fighting. Cagalli realizes the only way the Archangel will survive this is if they flee to the neutral nation of Orb. She reveals herself as the Princess of Orb, the daughter of a high-ranking official, and the ship is allowed access. But only for the sake of using the Archangel, Strike, and Kira's newly programmed operating system to better their own mobile suit development. Remember, Orb made all the Gundams and the Archangel in the first place. Athrun decides to sneak into Orb and find out what they can about the Archangel and ensure that it's still within its borders. Kira and his friends are offered the opportunity to visit their family that was evacuated here. Kira doesn't go. He's conflicted on his relationship with his parents for choosing to make him a coordinator when they're naturals in the midst of this conflict. Flay lashes out at Kira, thinking that he pities her for not having any family to return to herself. They break up, which is probably for the best. Flay is caught in a permanent psychotic mental breakdown, and nobody's really helping her. Birdie flies away, and it ends up returning to Athrun. Kira and Athrun stand face to face, separated only by a fence. And Athrun passes Birdie back. They share a short, heartfelt moment, and Athrun is forced to leave before Cagalli gets the chance to loudly blow his cover. The Archangel prepares to leave, and the Zala team camps outside, ready to spawn kill them the second they come out. Izak and Diarca complain that they found no evidence that the Archangel is still there, and they're probably long gone, but obviously Athrun knows that they're there. At least Nickel backs him up, like he always does. Cagalli gives Kira one final goodbye. Their parents look on nervously. They clearly know something that we don't. The Zala team attacks the Archangel the second it leaves neutral waters. Kira and Athrun square off, and Nickel jumps in to save him. Depending on what version you watch, either Kira reflexively kills Nickel in self-defense, or Nickel slips on a banana peel and impales himself on a sword. Let me know in the comments if you guys want me to cover the differences between the HD remaster and the original series. There's a lot of small stuff like that really adds up. Kira can't believe what he's done. Flay wants to talk to Kira and apologize, but he tells her to wait, because the Zala team is back for revenge. Kira and Athrun face off, while Mu engages Diarca, eventually shooting him down and capturing him. Tal volunteers to fly in and save Kira, but he gets absolutely obliterated by Athrun the instant he arrives. Fueled by hate, the two begin to rip each other limb from limb, in the most scream-filled duel in Gundam history. But Athrun ultimately proves that nobody is safe from him, not even himself, as the Aegis locks around the strike and self-destructs. The Archangel tries to look for Kira and Tal, but they can't afford to waste any more time. Orb sends out a search party. Cagalli finds Athrun in the wreckage. The two mourn for Kira and Nickel and everything else they've lost for this world that forces people to do horrible things like this. But we don't have to mourn too long though, because Kira actually survived. It's a miracle. He's up in the colonies with Lacus after being rescued by locals and some other characters that I do not have the time to get into right now. The Archangel arrives safely in Alaska, where they notice that it's pretty lightly staffed. Most everyone was sent to Panama, the presumed target of Operation Spitbreak, thanks to some leaked information from an unknown source. Athrun and Izak have a touching moment of goodbye as their assignments change after what happened to their squad. They shake hands, and Athrun apologizes for not being able to do better. Izak tells him that next time he'll be the one in command, and to stay alive. until then. Murrue, Natarl, and Flay are all being seemingly randomly reassigned elsewhere. Murrue and Flay obviously don't want to go, while Natarl and Murrue exchange goodbyes and hope to see each other again someday. Somewhere that isn't a battlefield. ZAFT prepares to execute Operation Spitbreak, changing the target last second to the Earth Alliance HQ in Alaska. Rao infiltrates the strangely empty base and verifies something on the computer before Murrue finds him. They exchange fire before Rao exclaims,
"But if you're still hanging around here, your usefulness to the Earth forces must be nearly at an end."
In Rao's escape, he even manages to capture Flay. Murrue discovers my Patreon and new YouTube memberships, which can get you early access to all of my videos and get your name credited at the end of each of them, along with unique badges, emotes, and Discord roles. Click join or check out the links in the description. Murrue discovers a Cyclops system beneath the base, designated to go off and erase everyone within the vicinity, meaning that Murrue, Natarl, and Flay were the only ones that the Earth Alliance found any value in from the Archangel, and that's why they were being transferred elsewhere. Meanwhile, up in the colonies, Kira wants to get back to his friends. Lacus sneaks Kira into a secret outpost where he then acquires the Freedom Gundam. On his escape route, he even flies past Athrun's shuttle, which showcases how wild it is that Athrun is still injured when Athrun tried to escape, but Kira just kind of took that blast point blank. Murrue flies into the Archangel to warn them about the Cyclops system, but it's almost too late as their entire ship is almost sunk in an instant. Kira in the Freedom Gundam arrives in the nick of time, saving their lives and shooting down dozens of other mobile suits by taking out their non-vital areas. After being informed of the Cyclops system, Kira warns everyone on the battlefield, initiating a large-scale retreat. While a small group of people survive, the vast majority are not fast enough to escape the blast. Kira explains that he doesn't want to fight the Earth Alliance or ZAFT anymore. Instead, he wants to fight to end the fighting. With everyone aboard the Archangel now being deserters, they have to calculate their next move. Athrun's father basically begins a coup in the government, accusing other council members like Lacus Clyne's father of treason for leaking information on Operation Spitbreak, even though they probably didn't. Athrun is assigned the sister suit to the Freedom, the Justice. His assignment is to hunt it down and bring it back, or destroy it and everything else it came into contact with. It's equipped with an N-jammer canceller, the secret to allowing nuclear weapons and power to be used. They cannot let the Earth Alliance find it. He even tells Athrun that they know Lacus was behind it. Athrun goes off to investigate, eventually tracking down Lacus. She explains that she wants to stop the fighting, and that Kira is actually alive and doing the same. Things might not be as simple as Athrun thinks they are. The Archangel decides to return to Orb. ZAFT, in order to make up for its massive losses in Alaska, decide to attack Panama anyway, knowing the majority of Earth Alliance forces have all gathered there. The new Alliance mobile suits help out, but they ultimately stand no chance against ZAFT's sheer power. ZAFT wipes them out and destroys their mass driver, their primary means of getting to space in order to retaliate. With the loss of their mass driver, the Alliance pressures Orb into giving them access to theirs. Orb refuses, and the Alliance chooses to take it by force. Using new Gundam weapons and genetically enhanced boosted men, basically people that they have pumped full of all sorts of chemicals and drugs and things like that, in order for them to keep up with coordinators. Because this is a lot more humane than people fiddling with genes, right? Diarca is set free, considering the Archangel isn't even with the Alliance anymore. But his Stockholm Syndrome starts to kick in as he debates whether or not he wants to leave Murielia's side. Murrue finally makes his move on Murrue. She doesn't want to date mobile armor pilots, but Murrue is a mobile suit pilot now, taking over the newly rebuilt Strike Gundam. Kira and the M1 Astray girls desperately try to hold the line, and Diarca arrives to save the Archangel. But despite their efforts, Kira is about to be shot down. That is, until Athrun flies in and saves him. But he doesn't have to do it alone, because Kira is here to back him up. This answers the most important question in the entire show. What happens when the world's most dangerous pacifist meets the world's most forgiving mass murderer? A whole lot of ass kicking. And based on a recent poll, it sounds like a lot of you agree. I am surprised that Amuro got so few votes though. Athrun and Kira rekindle their friendship on newfound understanding. After a relentless siege by the Earth Alliance, Orb decides to risk a daring plan, evacuating all of their citizens and escaping into space with the Archangel. Cagalli's father forces her to get on the shuttle. He tells her she won't be alone, that she'll be with her brother, Kira. Athrun and Kira narrowly reach the escaping shuttle as Orb self-destructs, taking the mass driver down with it, which dramatically delays the Earth Alliance getting into space. Athrun needs to confront his father on the horrible things he's done and find out what his true intentions are.
When the very last natural is dead, the war will end!
When Athrun retaliates, his father shoots him. Athrun finally knows that his father is too far gone. Athrun starts beating everyone into the ground in his desperate escape attempt, before realizing that Lacus sent people to help him. In fact, one of the guys he beat the crap out of was one of the guys that Lacus sent to help him. They take Athrun to a new ship, the Eternal, where we discover Andrew Waltfeld survived his run-in with Kira and now has joined the Clyne faction. Probably should have got out. They attempt a desperate escape, but end up surrounded by dozens and dozens of ZAFT mobile suits, and Kira flies in to save them. I'm not sure if he's more surprised to find Lacus on board or Waltfeld. They all get back safely, and everyone is allowed some time to settle back in. Lacus confides in Kira that her father was taken out by Chairman Zala, and he comforts her. Cagalli tries to console Athrun, telling him that it's not too late to save his father. Athrun holds her close, and she blushes and squirms like a little worm. You know what I just realized? Why does everyone here have daddy issues? We haven't even gotten to Kira's yet. Suddenly, a new Archangel-class ship appears on the perimeter, named the Dominion. Natarl is in command. Azrael and the boosted men from Blue Cosmos are stationed here as well. Natarl offers them an agreement if they lay down their weapons and surrender. Murrue holds her ground and refuses. Natarl's tactics completely outclass them. She's able to hold the line despite being drastically outnumbered. ZAFT even arrives on the battlefield, turning it into a three-way conflict. Mu senses Raoul Creuset and pulls off to go after him, and Diarca joins in to back him up. Diarca and Izak end up at each other's throats, with Izak thinking some Earth Alliance pilot took over his friend's machine. And of course, Mu and Rao face off. Kira flies off to help them, leaving Athrun to hold things here largely by himself. Rao leads Kira and Mu further and further into the colony, where he reveals everything. The reason Mu and Rao have a connection is because he's actually a clone of his father, meant to replace him as his successor. Kira Yamato is actually Kira Hibiki, the son of a researcher that separated his two children before birth. Cagalli was born a natural, and Kira was put into an artificial womb, so the mother's body would not have any effect on the output of the child. They could effectively control every last detail they wanted to directly, making Kira the ultimate coordinator. Rao escapes, and Izak decides to let Diarca go after he starts questioning ZAFT's intentions. Rao then entrusts a disc to Flay, telling her that this is the key to ending the war, before sending her out in an escape pod. Flay calls out for help, explaining the importance of what she carries. Azrael wants to see what she's got, but Natarl wants to save her from being virtually stranded if she ends up on the Archangel. Kira rushes to get Flay back, wanting to make things right, but he gets absolutely annihilated and has to get rescued by Athrun. Flay is brought back to the Dominion, where Natarl comforts her. Azrael takes the key, which contains N-Jammer Canceller technology, which allows the Earth Alliance to use nuclear weapons. After everything that went down, Kira is pretty torn up. He questions whether or not he was meant to be born into this world in the first place. Lacus explains that him being here means everything to her. With nukes back on the menu, the Earth Alliance hits ZAFT hard, wiping Boaz off the map. After the attack, Natarl begins to question herself and the Earth Alliance. She tells Flay she may have been better off staying behind. Flay explains she had to come because she has to get back to Kira. She cries, saying Rao told her that this would end the war, not turn into whatever this is. And Natarl somberly explains,
once every last enemy is destroyed, only then will it end.
The Alliance launches a second nuclear attack, this time directed at the plants themselves, erasing the coordinators right at their source. The Clyne faction intervenes with their new meteors. But even that's not enough, because Chairman Zala activates his trump card, using the super weapon Genesis to melt the Alliance, forcing them to retreat. Everyone knows that they have to regroup and take it out before it has the chance to fire on Earth. Before they go off into what will likely be the final battle of the war, Lacus gives Kira her ring so he can feel her with him. She tells him to make sure he comes back to her, and he gives her a kiss on the cheek, which, for these two meek and reserved characters, is the equivalent of full-blown intercourse. Cagalli tells Athrun that the Strike Rouge was just finished, and that she'll be joining him on the front lines. Athrun doesn't want her to go, but she insists that he takes way more risks than she ever would. She tells him that she won't let him die, and Kira, who she asserts is definitely her little brother, she just knows it. Athrun tells her that he'll be the one protecting her, before landing the killing blow. Murrue stops Mu before he can launch. He sees her necklace and realizes the reason she could never be with a mobile armor pilot was because her father used to be one, before he passed. Mu explains not to worry, that he'll be right back, because he can make the impossible possible. The Earth Alliance, ZAFT, and the Clyne faction clash in a battle that will ultimately decide which side of humanity will be wiped out. Azrael pushes his nuclear forces to attack the plant regardless, even in the midst of a battle against Genesis. Natarl questions how his decision is relevant to their current objective. He insists by generously pointing a gun in her direction, telling her to focus on sinking the Archangel once and for all. The fighting continues. Izak, Diarca, Athrun, and Kira focus on taking out the boosted men. Kira sets them up, and Athrun knocks them down. Sometimes I like to imagine that Kira flies around and takes out all their non-vital areas, and then Athrun flies behind them and just shoots them after anyways. Raoul Le Creuset launches in his new Providence Gundam with beam-firing Dragoons. He faces off against Mu one last time, but Mu's outdated Strike Gundam can't possibly hope to keep up. He tries to return to the Archangel after being heavily damaged. The ship stops, so hopefully he'll be able to land safely. Azrael plans to use this opportunity to sink the Archangel. Flay tries to warn them before getting slapped into next year. My god. Natarl jumps in to stop and disarm him, buying everyone else time to flee and escape to the Archangel. Azrael ultimately overpowers her, shooting her repeatedly, but she locks him in, preventing his escape. He decides to sink the Archangel himself, aiming directly at them and firing. Mu jumps in front of the beam, exclaiming to Murrue,
Didn't I tell you I could make the impossible possible?
Before his mobile suit is reduced to dust. Murrue, through tear-filled eyes, commands the crew to aim the Lohengrin and fire, destroying the Dominion, the head of Blue Cosmos, and Natarl all at once. Kira senses something and pulls away from the front line, heading straight for Rao, who is currently shredding through Izak and Diarca like paper. Kira intervenes, leaving them to take out the last of the boosted men. Rao and Kira face off in one of the most explosive and beam-filled confrontations in Gundam history. Kira spots Flay's escape shuttle, and he rushes to save it, which unfortunately puts her directly in Rao's sights. Kira blocks his attack, but a Dragoon comically appears out of nowhere and spanks her shuttle, ending the lives of everyone inside. In an ethereal moment of understanding and clarity, Kira finally understands Flay's apology that she wanted to give him so long ago, how she was scared and hurt, but now they can see each other for who they really are. Kira's newfound resolve is almost frightening as he rises up to end Rao le Creuset. Athrun and Cagalli set off to disable Genesis from the inside. Chairman Zala prepares to fire on Earth, shooting the only person who questions if erasing half of humanity is really necessary, before getting shot himself. The crew abandons Yakin Due. Athrun finds his father. His last dying wish is for Athrun to fire Genesis. The self-destruct is activated, proving once and for all that these two are father and son. It's still going to fire before self-destructing. So, like father, like son, Athrun hatches a plan to self-destruct his nuclear-powered mobile suit inside of the base first. Rao reveals everything to Kira. His hatred for humanity and this world of endless desires, how nobody is ever happy. That he, as a clone manufactured by humanity, is the only one suited to judge them. He was the one who leaked the true plan for Operation Spitbreak to Blue Cosmos. He leaked the N-Jammer Canceller information. He played Chairman Zala every step of the way. He wanted to use humanity to erase itself. Athrun prepares to self-destruct, but Cagalli stops him, telling him to stop running away and that the real battle is to keep living. Kira throws aside his ideals as he understands that Rao cannot be left alive for the sake of humanity and everyone he holds dear. He impales Rao's machine through the chest, and the self-destruction of justice sets off a small blast from Genesis that erases Rao from this plane of existence. With the end of the battle, the destruction of Genesis, and the death of Rao, Chairman Zala, and the head of Blue Cosmos, peace is finally an option, as negotiations for a ceasefire and an eventual treaty open up that very day. Izak and Diarca return to Plant, with Izak working his way up the ranks, and everyone else settles down in Orb. Kira and Lacus assist Reverend Malchio in taking care of young war orphans, while Cagalli and Athrun focus on rebuilding. Nobody really knows what's best for the world, but they know they won't stop trying to make it a better place. With SEED Freedom's release right around the corner, you probably want to learn more about what happened before the movie. Check out my video on the Gundam SEED Freedom prequel, which details the backstory of Agnes and how she relates to Shin, Rei, and Lunamaria.